With the first pick in the 2018 PPL draft, squad underestimated selects Saquon Barkley, running back, New York Giants. And just like that, it was official. Squad underestimated, making Saquon Barkley the #1 overall pick in the 10th PPL draft in league history. Saquon Barkley will lead squad underestimated into battle against Appease the Gods, who used 2 first-round picks with their trade with Patty's Twins to get Royce Freeman and Joe Mixon, who will be the backfield tandem in the matchup with squad underestimated. Looking at this matchup, both of these teams I thought did probably the best in the draft. Squad getting Saquon, Appease the Gods getting Joe Mixon and Royce Freeman. And I thought ATG did well throughout the draft, grabbing guys like Drew Brees and then Corey Davis to fill out those first 4 picks in the first 2 rounds. They did a good job. Now, what we're going to see is if those good picks and the great feelings coming out of draft night are going to carry over to week 1. Looking at the ATG squad underestimated matchup, it's going to be a very, very intriguing matchup to choose. Looking at the top, Christian McCaffrey had a spectacular preseason. I expect him to continue to roll, especially since there's no running back to challenge him in that offense, and Cam Newton is going to be checking down a lot more in North Turner's offense. So Christian McCaffrey is set for a big year. Now, #1 overall pick Saquon Barkley, I'm not as high on as I am as Christian McCaffrey. I think Barkley will have a good year, but not a great year. I don't think it will meet the heights of what we saw with Leonard Fournette last year or Ezekiel Elliott the year before. But Barkley should be a quality play. Chris Hogan was another quality pick by squad underestimated, especially with no Julian Edelman. Hogan may go off week 1 against the Houston Texans defense. And looking across the whole board here, this is probably going to be one of the more intriguing matchups. But looking over it, I think that the projection has it right. I do like squad underestimated this week. Kirk Cousins against the 49ers defense. The 49ers defense still has a lot to prove. Looks like he's going for the double up or the double dip with Adam Thielen. And then, of course, on ATG side, he'll have Drew Brees and Rob Gronkowski, who are 2 guys who could take over any week's matchup. But I think squad did very well this offseason. I think that the Kirk Cousins start is showing that the squad is more interested in winning than in cheering for his favorite team. And I think that'll serve them well in week 1. I got squad underestimated winning this matchup 135 to 118. I think squad's going to have a big scoring week to open up this season. And moving to the next matchup, the Baby Gas team in the Alpha Conference taking on the Mean Machine, who also did a decent job with the keepers. I thought that the keepers that the Mean Machine had were probably the best in the league. I'm looking at Alvin Kamara, Kareem Hunt, Michael Thomas, Odell Beckham Jr., who got his money, Amari Cooper, and Derrick Henry as a nice mixture of players that should do very well this year. I think Kamara's gonna really shine, especially in the first 4 weeks. Drew's gonna throw the ball to him a lot, and he's gonna run the football. Kareem Hunt, he's gonna have a little bit more of a challenge, being that the teams are probably gonna dare Mahomes to beat them, and they're going to try to focus on Hunt. So Hunt may not get off to such a great start, but the Chargers' run defense isn't the best in the game, so Kareem Hunt should be able to do okay. Beckham and Thomas are probably the best 1-2 punch in the league, especially with Beckham coming back 100%. I expect him and the Mean Machine to do big things this year. So Odell back in the lineup is going to be a big boost for the Machine. Amari Cooper on Monday night against the Rams. At the very least, if the Raiders, they're probably going to be behind, which means that Cooper should do pretty well. On the Baby Gas team side, I thought they drafted pretty well. They took Demaryius Thomas with the first round pick. Maybe not as sexy as you'd like, but he's a good player. T.Y. Hilton and Larry Fitzgerald are keepers from last year. It was a little bit of a head scratcher keeping Mark Ingram, but I guess the BGT believes in the talent there. And they did draft a few quarterbacks. So some of the moves that Baby Gas team made were head scratchers. But luckily for them, they had the keepers in the lineup already in place where the draft wasn't of heavy consequence to them. And looking at this week's matchup, this is probably, I mean, at least in the Alpha Conference, this is going to be the closest matchup. And the Baby Gas team looks like they're probably primed for an upset, being that a lot of their star guys are at home to open the season, which is always a nice little boost. And that Philadelphia defense tomorrow night probably can get them off to a good start, or it might put them in a hole early. This one's probably the hardest one to call, but I'm gonna say that the Mean Machine sneaks out with this one, 121 to 117. And then in the next matchup, one of the big offseason movers was Patty's Twins. They're going to take on the United Players, the Destroyers, to open the season. The two best quarterbacks in the game, Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, squaring off in week 1 of PPL action. I mean, I think this one is the lock of the week if we're looking at this matchup fairly. The United Players, outside of Tom Brady, these guys are second-tier guys. I mean, Tarek Cohen is the backup running back. Kerryon Johnson's a guy you're crossing your fingers and hoping for. Emmanuel Sanders is probably the most reliable play outside of Tom Brady. Allen Hurns, you have no idea what you're going to get there. Jimmy Graham, I believe, is becoming more touchdown dependent. And I believe Cooper Kupp likely will make an impact in the Monday night game, but he's not going to be a guy who you can expect to get, 10 targets and 100 yards. So he may be chasing points there. On the Twins side, I mean, this was a team that was decimated by injury last year. If not for injury, this was a playoff team. Aaron Rodgers coming back into the fold is huge, but I think even bigger is David Johnson's return. I believe he went down, 8 or 10 plays into week 1 against the Argo last year. He broke his wrist on a freak play. It was a passing play, actually, that he actually got hurt on. Deep passing play down the sideline. So getting him back is going to help the Twins tremendously. And let's really talk about that trade here. Keenan Allen, essentially for two picks. One pick turned out to be Joe Mixon, who we're high on, but we don't really know what that guy's going to bring to the table. And the other pick actually turned out to be Drew Brees. The Twins didn't need a quarterback at that spot in the second round, and I doubt they would have probably wanted Joe Mixon. So I think that they did well getting Keenan Allen, being that he's the top receiver in one of the most prolific offenses in pro football. So it was a genius move by the Twins. Greg Olsen is another good player, and I'm really looking at this kid Jordan Wilkins for the Indianapolis Colts. Young rookie players are always exciting, and it's because they bring the unknown to the table. When you feel that rush of adrenaline or that excitement when you have a rookie go off in your lineup, especially in a league that's a dynasty league like the PPL, it gives you great feelings. So I think Jordan Wilkins is a guy who may turn back an investment for the Twins early on. And I like the picks all over across the board. Now, the one guy that I'm a little concerned about, and I believe the Twins might be concerned about him as well, is Jay Ajayi. He just recently got cleared to play. He didn't play all preseason, and his carries were sporadic last year. He wasn't a guy that they used as a bell cow. And the Twins, I'm sure, are going to be interested to see how he's used tomorrow, especially with no Carson Wentz in the lineup. Do the Eagles run a little bit more, or do they continue with the same approach they had in the last year's playoffs? So that's going to be interesting to see. But this is the lock of the week. I got Patty's Twins winning this matchup 120 to 97.